Nickii, I don't know what to do. I feel so restless and irritable and discontent. And I just feel like I have a restless soul. I'm not sure what to do about that.
Cammy, you just have to stay on your path, stay in abstinence, and it will come. The more we're consistent and the more we walk this road, the more we'll get it.
Okay, I see what I need to do. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dr. Cammy Goes Keto, where I'm here with Nickii, and we're talking about abstinence and being off of, well, for me, it's sugar and flour and caffeine. And what is your definition of abstinence for you, Nickii?
It was just sugar and flour, but now it's sugar and flour and caffeine again.
All right. All right. So, I mean, for me, a little bit of caffeine doesn't tend to bother me, but a little bit of caffeine tends to lead to a little bit more caffeine, and a little bit more caffeine tends to make me want sugar and flour. So that's why I'm off of the caffeine. So yeah, that's what our abstinence is defined as. And we're here to talk a little bit about where we are in our journey of abstinence. So I just feel really young in my journey. I've been able to get together, like I used to binge on ultra processed foods consistently for every 2 to 3 weeks. And that was for like a year as I was trying to get off of this binge eating foods. Then I was able to string together like 92 days, and then I was off again, then 51 days, and then I was off again. And 30, now next week, I'm like, whatever it is, 53 days or something, and I'm feeling really good. And I'm just taking it one day at a time. But so, slowly but surely, the abstinent days start to stack up, and then I can see a little bit of progress.
Yeah. And I'm 3.5 years now as part of our program, but I still feel very young in abstinence. And the more I study like addiction recovery, whether it's AA or OA or any of the wonderful programs that are out there, and then communities like ours, I'm starting to get that is very young with abstinence, and that for the first 5 years, people are really kind of getting their footing and figuring out what works for them, and then staying consistent with it and really feeling the freedom and really accepting in their true core the identity change that this is, and the change of life that this is. Because I think when we first start, we have that new excitement and motivation and like the fresh start kind of stuff, and like, ooh, and the excitement that we all experience with the newness factor. But then once that wears off and then our brain's like, oh, we're really doing this, that's when, you can feel the tug of war happen. And then we have those slips. And yes, most of the time we're in, but then when we go out, it's like our brain is questioning, like, am I going back to the old Cammy or the old Nickii, or are we really doing this for the rest of our lives? Like, it's like that mental tug of war. And I think it's all about acceptance, right? Because we say it's awareness. First, you have to be aware that there's even a problem, that you even have an addiction or a problem or whatever you want to call it. And then you have to have action. What is the second one? Action? No, the third one.
Awareness, acceptance, is that what you mean?
Acceptance, and then action. So you have to accept it. And I think at first when we start our program, we think we're accepting and we think we're ready, right? The whole readiness factor. But then I think once we start doing it, you start walking this journey and doing the deed, then that's when you start questioning, like, crap, maybe I don't want to do this, or maybe I'm not ready. And then that's when you start questioning yourself. So we move into action, but sometimes we move back to acceptance. Like, am I really going to accept this? And I think early in our sobriety, we go through that mental tug of war, even when the food is clean most of the time, or, all that kind of stuff. So I still feel early in mine as well.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what are some of the signs for me that I feel like I'm early in my food abstinence? One of the big signs for me is that I still think about food a lot, like all the time. And it drives me crazy. But when and I'm on Zepbound, by the way, I'm on a GLP-1. And that's almost like a clue to me that I really do have an issue with eating disorder, because I'm on Zepbound. I'm on 10 milligrams, which is a pretty decent dose. And I don't really get fullness and hunger cues. Like, I'm not really hungry when I go to eat my meals, but I'm thinking about food and I'm planning about it and I'm journaling it. I have it on a food plan and I'm preparing it. And as soon as I get done eating, I'm thinking about when am I going to get to eat again? And so I'm very young in my abstinence with that. And, I can't wait till I get to a time where, I'm good and hungry, which will be after I get off the Zepbound. And I'm like, God, I haven't thought, hungry. Why am I so hungry? Oh my gosh, it's been, 6 hours since I had a meal and I'm good and hungry. I'm ready to eat. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that I go for, 6 months without binging. That'll be like holiday times, November, December, something like that. And then could start thinking about going maybe another 6 months without binging for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure. And then trying to take, 6 months to wean off of the GLP-1 because I would really like my hunger and fullness cues to learn how to be there again. But I'm
Mhm.
not ready for that yet, So I'm early.
Yeah. And I completely resonate with what you said because I still think about food way too much. And I want to be like one of those people that's like, oh, it's lunchtime. Okay, I guess we'll eat. No, I've been thinking about it, since the last meal ended. And it was funny because I was reading like a healthy eating book or whatever, and it had testimonials of people who had, changed the way they eat and went abstinent with their food. And this one woman joined the program. She had 0 pounds to lose, Cammy. So I almost didn't even read her bio because I was like, what are you doing in here? Like, why do you need to be in our camp? And then I read her story, and her story was like spooky. It gave me chills because she said, I joined this program not because I had a pound to lose, but because I'm so tired of being obsessed with food and I just don't want to think about it. And she's like, I look healthy to everyone on the outside, but when you look at how my brain is, I might as well be 450 pounds because I think about it all the time and I obsess about it. And she had to give up sugar and flour because that's the stuff that was making her sick in the head. It just didn't manifest on the outside. And so I really
Wow.
resonated with that because, yeah, it's not just about fixing our health, whether it's our health markers or our weight. It's also about fixing the broken brain that just wants to stay on it.
Right, and the brain's been broken for lots of different reasons, but having it soaked in sugar is one of the reasons why,
Mhm. Yeah.
So getting that out of the system, yeah. Wow. So another thing that I've noticed that makes me realize how young I am in my abstinence is that I'll still have cravings, like and it'll just be triggered by things. Like I was driving down the freeway and there's this exit I could take to drive to this certain place to buy all kinds of sugary and sweet things. And my mind just says, oh, look, you could go off that exit. You have time. You could go off that exit and grab some of those foods and oh, they would taste so good. And then I think about it and I think, wait a minute. I don't do that anymore. That's not an option for me. That's not where I'm going to go. Uh, and so, but I still have those feelings. It's mostly when I'm driving on the freeway and there's certain exits I can take. I'm noticing that because when I'm home, I feel safer. I'm not out in the world where all that other food is available and calling to me.
Yeah.
I have an abstinent house. So, yeah, I'm really lucky that way too, because I know a lot of people in our program have to deal with spouses and kids and things where there's stuff in the house that you could go to town on. So, yeah, my heart goes out to you.
Yeah. Well, and the world too. There's so many social cues out there, whether it's just driving down the road or it's your workplace or your church or your community. If you go work out at a certain gym, I mean, or you can't even go to the dentist's office and then they're giving you stuff, even though they know that it's the thing that gives you cavities. And the hardware store, you can't go to the hardware store without there being a bunch of snacks. And it's like,
Um,
so yeah, the societal cues and visual reminders all day hammering our brains and pummeling that willpower or making those cravings even if they weren't physical but the mental cravings, they just, yeah, you have to have a lot of strength and keep your eyes focused on the prize, I feel like, because you can go out into the world even with so many years of sobriety and there still be some of your old haunts right there in front of you.
yes, and I don't think they're gonna go away anytime soon.
No. And earlier in my sobriety, I was like so naive and like, yeah, we can change the world and we'll get these stores to like offer more healthy options. And now I'm like, honey, maybe, but let's not count on that. Like, let's just figure out a plan B and do that. And if they
Yeah,
change, fine. And if they don't, fine. But like, you know what I mean? Not that I'm like, not that I'm like negative about it, but I'm trying to be more realistic. Like, what if they
yeah,
don't change, you know?
yeah, yeah. So, the last thing I think I wanted to talk about as far as, knowing that I'm early in my abstinence is that I still have significant amount of weight to get off. And I just think it's kind of wild how like my actions and behavior now, because I am losing consistently 1 to 2 pounds a week and I am eating like some carbohydrates still. Even I'm on a low carb, high fat ketogenic diet and I am in ketosis for the most part now, which is really cool. Although I ate yesterday a piece of watermelon. It wasn't big, but it was a piece of watermelon and 3 cherries and that dropped my ketones down to point 0.4 and kicked me out of ketosis. So, but that wasn't surprising. So, I mean, if that's what a binge is for me nowadays, amen, have at it. But basically, if you're doing what you're going to do from here on out in this new lifestyle, eventually the weight will settle into what probably will be a healthy weight. And it just hasn't settled yet because I'm in the process of getting there. And that's one of the ways that I know that I'm still really early in my recovery.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat. Like, I still have the last 20 pounds to lose, and then really it could be probably 30, but even just saying 30 makes me uncomfortable. Like, you're gonna take my blanket away from me.
Uh-huh.
So I know there's some mental, like, like you're going to take my hiding space away from me. So even though part of me says I want to lose the weight, there's the other part of me that's like, oh, well, maybe not, maybe not. Maybe we're just comfortable staying here. So I know I have a lot of mindset work that I still need to do to be able to say, no, you can lose this weight and let it go, release this weight and you don't need it anymore. You don't need it for protection.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to talk a little bit about at the beginning of this video, we talked about a restless soul.
Yes.
And Nikki came up with that term before I said it at the beginning of the video. And can talk a little bit about that. Like how does that feel to you? What does that mean?
Well, I feel like for me, I still feel like a restless soul because even though my food is clean most of the time, I'm still having the inner dialogue, like we were talking about. Like, what am I going to eat? Is it packed? Is it prepped? Should I have that? Should I have this? And like, there's so many ways that people do abstinence in this health and wellness community and also in the abstinence based community that there really is no perfect plan. You have to find what works for you. And we all have different trigger foods or different foods that are borderline foods, as we call it in our group. So you can't follow somebody else's plan. And everyone has written a book about what their perfect plan is. And we even have experts in the field like Dr. Georgia Eade or Chris Palmer or, Dr. Westman and Dr. Ken Berry, all the people that we saw in the summits and they'll have a slightly different spin on, what they emphasize and all that kind of stuff. And I can drive myself crazy, Cammy, and I have studying these people and exactly what their program has. And I know all of their food lists and what the cans and the cannot eat are. But at the end of the day, I have to come up with Nikki's perfect food plan. And I
Mhm.
know what foods make me crazy and make me want another one or make me think about it or like the coffee. I had 2 cups of coffee. Like, it wasn't like I was a coffee addict, but those 2 cups of coffee were like the first thing I thought about in the morning. And until I got it and I made my little concoction and had it, like I couldn't go about my day. Like there was like the obsessive compulsive part of it. And that's what I don't want. I don't want any food, thing, or place or person to put me in a place of obsession. Like I want the mental freedom. I don't want anything to occupy the free rent in my brain, like Mike says. And I want to be free of anything making me compulsive towards it. So that's where I feel like the crazy and what were we saying? Like the restless soul. Like I don't want that.
Restless, irritable, and discontent. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause
Yeah.
like if you get the body that looks healthy on the outside, like that woman I was talking about, but the brain is still cray cray, like I've missed the whole lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can identify with the restless soul. How
Yes,
about
and
you?
I wrestle one of the things that my soul wrestles with and gets restless is, this whole thing about the definition of addiction and what that is. Uh,
Mhm.
I mean, of abstinence, and for me, I really feel that abstinence and addiction really walk hand in hand for me because I am addicted to the sugar and the flour and the caffeine. There's addictive kinds of behavior there and compulsive behavior around those foods, especially the ultra processed food. reels me in and I'll never get out of there again. I mean, I've done some videos called I'm Terrified. I was day 32 or something and terrified because I just don't want to go back there ever again. And I really do feel like for me as an addict with the sugar, that abstinence, complete abstinence is the solution. And that really bums me out. Like I get really sad when I think about how I'm not going to eat whatever for the rest of my life. And, I get really overwhelmed with that. So, what I do that seems to be working is when I wake up in the morning, I spend quiet time in meditation and I have my devotional books that I read and I pray and I spend time with God and I say, hey, what is the plan for today? And then I say, well, for me, for today, it's best that I don't have sugar or flour or caffeine. Now, I don't know if that's gonna change or not in the future, but I went to an Overeaters Anonymous meeting today, and there's a woman there who's about to celebrate, I think she's gonna celebrate 39 years of complete abstinence. She had, like, a spiritual awakening, and she went to God. She hasn't had another thing to eat that's sugar or flour. I'm not sure what her total abstinence is because I know that she does have some sugar substitutes, like in the Coke Zero or things like that. So, but she has her abstinence and she hasn't broken it in 39 years. So,
Wow.
and she looks fabulous, by the way. She's cute as can be. I mean, she's older, but she's just cute as can be. So, yeah, that gives me hope too, thinking about that. And for me, it's just one day at a time. And what am I going to do today?
Yeah. Yeah, you're making me think of Bitten Johnson because she said that in an interview that chocolate was her favorite thing. She was the biggest chocoholic in the world, and she said that she wanted the chocolate every night, and she just had to tell herself, "We're gonna have that tomorrow. No, 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 no. We're not gonna have that tonight. We'll have it tomorrow night." And then she would just get into bed and say, "Thank you, God, for getting me through the day." And then she would start up the next day. And then and she just had to keep telling herself that, "Nope, we'll have it tomorrow. We'll have it tomorrow." Kind of like you're parenting your inner child. And
Yeah.
I think it's so wonderful to just not think about the future because all we have is today. So just focus on what you have to do today and it makes it a whole lot easier, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's wonderful. We've had such a good discussion today
Yeah.
about abstinence and what it means. And so hopefully this speaks to some people out there and continue to, subscribe and like us and follow us on our journey as we get, more and more abstinence under our belt. And then, in 5 years, we'll be going, oh, yeah, we have some abstinence. We can talk real abstinence. Because I think you're right, Nikki. It takes a long time. Like you can't
Yeah.
just be abstinent for a year. Like I think it takes a long time. And at the beginning, I remember like when I first started this journey, I've been, it's going to be in September, 3 years that I started going to, trying to go keto and get off of the sugar, which happened shortly after I started going keto. I realized I was addicted to the sweet stuff. But I remember thinking, this particular candy that has a candy coating and the chocolate inside with the peanut in the middle. I remember thinking about that and thinking, oh my God, I cannot I'm going to go my whole life without eating one of those. Oh my God, I'll never be able to do that. And now, like, I think, oh, hell yeah, that would be great if I never have to eat one of those again. That would be like freedom around it, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of ironic how with such strictness, you feel that freedom, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And I think food addiction and sugar addiction is different because there's the whole process of acquiring the drug, the sugar, and all that kind of stuff, which is
Mm.
we make a whole ritual of fun
Oh,
around it. And
yeah.
then there's also the biochemical addiction of how it goes into our bodies and raises the dopamine up and creates that cortisol response and makes us go on the
Roller
fun little
coaster.
roller coaster. So it's like a process addiction and it's a biochemical addiction. I was just talking about this with another sugar buddy and it's like we have the twin dragon to fight, because there's the thing to do with your hands. A lot of us girls we struggle with stuff at night and one of my girlfriends, she took up knitting because she just didn't want to have to do the hand to mouth thing. That was what night eating was for her, was
Mhm.
just the hand to mouth thing. She was just like, I don't even care what I'm eating. I just need to keep doing that. And so she had to do knitting. So yeah, it's like the twin dragon that we're trying to attack. And I just think like When I was young, I thought, oh, when I get my first job, I'll probably be good at it in like 6 months and then be able to be eligible for a promotion and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, right. Like you barely dipped your toe in the water, girl, and figured out how this place works. And I think sobriety is the same thing. It's like we have this vision that we're going to just like have it in 6 months and then just keep following the path. And it's like, no, you just barely figured out what this is all about. But
Oh, that's so true. So
yeah,
true.
but we have the rest of our lives to figure it out. And the thing that I always say that we're blessed is that we've woken up. There's so many
Yes.
people that haven't woken up yet. And I pray every day that they do and they regain their health and their mental peace. So it's just a blessing that we've woken up, right?
Amen. Amen. All right, everybody. You have a great day. Thank you so much, Nickii. We'll see you
Thank you,
next
Cammy.
time.
Happy 4th to everyone.
Yes. Happy freedom. Freedom to
Woohoo!
America.
250.
Show them your squishy.
This is a squishy and it says America 250 because we're going to celebrate America's 250th birthday on Saturday. This is my son's. I stole it.
That's what kids are for.
Yeah. When you need their stuff for stress relief, you're like, thank you, babe.
All right, everybody. Take good care.
Take good care.
Bye.
Bye.